so the township's awaiting that written confirmation. One of the unique items with this project was that it involved a shared access arrangement and that there was an existing structure that encroached between two properties both owned by the applicant. In order to address those two items and similar to the last project, try to avoid future conflicts, discussions were held with Tom Goodman and the applicant's attorney, and approaches were developed to resolve each. The joint access easement agreement was prepared and will be recorded. And then as a separate item, the attorney worked out what is referred to as the declaration of restriction, and the simple summary of that document is it ties the two parcels together, so they have to be sold as essentially as one or conveyed at the same time, so as not to introduce two parties unless at some point the other encroachment issue is resolved. So that document does require participation from the township. Tom Goodman did review it and is satisfied. So the motion here to help clean up that administrative item would be a motion to authorize the Board of Supervisors to sign the declaration of restriction as prepared by the applicant's attorney, as signed by the applicant, and as reviewed by the township solicitor.
Is anybody here representing that?
Yeah, the applicant.
Okay. Do you want to say anything or no?
Any questions?
Any questions or anything? Comments? Nope. Yes.
Yeah, he's explaining pretty good, I think,
Okay. Okay. I'll make that motion.
I'll second that.
Any comments or questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carried.
And
Thank you, sir.
And similar to one other item on that project, similar to the last project that was just discussed, you had previously authorized conditional approval, authorized signature of the improvement guarantee agreement, the stormwater management easement agreement, and the improvement guarantee agreement referenced the future financial security amount satisfactory to the township and the township engineer. In light of the approval of the NPDS permit and various improvements depicted on that, the financial security amount was now finalized. So we have, as we've done in the past, I would prefer that you acknowledge that amount and as a motion. So the motion would be to acknowledge the required amount of financial security to be established with the township for the Roland Carolyn Martin stormwater management plan in the amount of $146,141 per the approved opinion of probable cost prepared for Wade Christian and Associates Inc. dated October 21st, 2019, and dated November 6th, 2019.
I would make that motion.
Good, you can second.
I'll second it.
Any comments or questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion. No.
And then,
Thank you.
so I think Lisa placed that document or
Yes.
as the one document for signature.
The module?
No, the first one, first the declaration.
Restriction.
Declaration
This is with this stuff here.
Declaration restriction.
Yeah, she's pretty good about that.
Yeah,
She
she-
did.
That's probably in this.
yeah, right. So we'll contact, Lisa will contact Lowell to tell them that signed and whatever.
You need to take that one.
Yeah, I think that's
Declaration of restriction.
If you need to
Yeah.
take it now.
Yeah, can I take it out? I mean, after you sign?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
Yeah, you need to make a copy of it.
There's the original and a couple copies here.
Yeah.
Yeah, she has all the
She has
copies.
all the copies.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah, Mr. Morrow, we can do that, because we have the copies here.
You want to do that?
yeah. No, you can do it now.
If you wish, yeah.
And what will happen there is that document will be recorded and then the recorded information added to the plan, just to further document.
Document that.
that.
We just did one.
So another thing on that, Tom Goodman was gonna review the shared access agreement, and I got all the papers to sign, but we had changed it a little bit, and Tom Goodman was gonna look over and approve it. Did he get that done?
That's a good rise and seal.
I can
We can
confirm
do
that.
Or,
No,
Yeah, Mr.
Sorry.
Martin, you can't take this one because we
Yeah,
actually have to
I've got it
notarize it
sealed.
for you.
That's
Right,
sealed.
yeah.
So,
I think
okay.
police-
sorry, police is not here tonight, so.
sure.
I can check on that.
It's on the one, it's on the other.
I was not involved in the direct discussion between the two attorneys or any changes, but
So it's just that Tom Cisco had contacted Tom Goodman there when he made that change, but he never got back for, just to make sure that it's good, so I couldn't go ahead and get a report at the top. Him saying
right. You
yes.
say you have all the signatures,
I do, but,
Yeah. so that you would record it simultaneously, essentially at the same time as this other.
yeah, right, yeah, so
So-
it's not holding it up,
Right.
but after this.
Yeah, I can have that confirmed. I will check with Tom and we'll confirm that.
Yeah, I might have slipped through the cracks too.
Okay. Now, Steve, this is me, feed mill.
Yes. Turning back to Dave East again.
Round two.
Round two.
Yeah, this would involve some further discussion than I would say normally at some points, just based on the nature of this request. I'll provide a little background. Stevens Feed Mill, located along Stevens Road, PennDOT Road, were before you previously in 2017 for a similar request where existing structures were to be removed and other structures constructed. Relatively minor, I guess, in the overall scheme of the property. At that point in time, a request for a waiver of land development was submitted, and the planning commission had supported it, you had approved it. In that case, there was a list of a certain number of conditions that were associated with that approval. Included things such as consolidating the various parcels. At that time, there were 5 parcels that made up the property. There was some clarification of traffic impact fee, there was some clarification of removal of asphalt and other impervious to swap out. The stormwater impacts followed the zoning hearing board decision related to that one. Site lighting and some other things. So moving forward, they had executed that project, consolidated the deeds, completed closed out the building permit, and the other structures were removed. Now we're here today. Recently, a portion of the property was rezoned from traditional
Suburban residential.
suburban residential to light industrial. So, yeah. I thought maybe a portion was also traditional resident, in conjunction with the trackside project. So now, they come back with a similar request. It pertains to an existing barn storage structure on the northeast portion of the property, approximately 3,000, 4,000 square feet. It has a barn and a little overhang and are proposing to remove that prior, I guess, to it removing itself. And converting that area to grass, and then shifting that similar size structure over on the southern side, kind of consolidate some of their operations on that side, minimize the need to cross over the road. So maybe, and the planning commission listened to the request, had some extensive discussions about different aspects and the fact that Wabash Landing is the immediate adjacent property. The Kreider residence, sidewalk and curb will be, are shown on the preliminary plan, or currently shown on the phase 2 final plan for that portion, will come up and abut this property. There was some discussion on access management along the frontage and ways maybe to reduce the current wide swaths of openings to encourage safer ingress and egress, a little discussion on landscaping, and a little discussion on stormwater and making sure that those numbers work. Stormwater numbers, Dave and I are convinced we can get to work relative to removing and converting different areas. The fact the barn's coming down in the back, that area is being converted to grass. There were some structures that were removed here.
Yeah.
Some of those credits were applied to the newer structure previously built. There'd be more opportunity for removal of some other areas to try to make the numbers work. So I think the big issue for the board, and that's why there's no specific motion written in the report, is to hear out their request for the waiver of land development, their second one, and try to make a determination whether, at what point is it appropriate to deem a project of the scale and size and nature, the full land development process is appropriate, and what point is it, and is there any middle ground where certain requirements may be extracted from the full process and applied to a waiver with conditions, so at that point, they need to highlight their thoughts, why they're doing it.
Yeah, okay, so, the barn is where this gray box, this green box is shown right now. This is the proposed building they would like to do. It's a storage building, same as the existing barn is a storage building. At one point, they had some more grander plans to probably, relocate the office and everything over, but that kind of just wasn't gonna work out in this kind of a time frame and scale for the land development plan. So they kind of just, clarified the vision a little bit and just said, look, we just need to get this storage building constructed on the south side or southwest side. And that building is just, it's not, it doesn't meet their needs.
Okay, square footage of the two different buildings are about the same, or are they?
Well, what we're doing is, this square footage of the building itself is a little bit larger than over here, but we're gonna propose to remove some additional paving that exists over here. It's pretty much just paved right up and around the corner here, gravel and everything. You're probably familiar with, these properties down here have access through sort of an unofficial alley in the back here. What they'd like to do is kind of cut some of that out and just allow that opening to just remain sort of on the corner here, so people can still go back to their properties, but then, reconfigure this whole corner here to make up for the difference, the paving and everything.
So the light green part above where the barn now is that,
It's actually gravel.
is it gonna stay gravel or become grass?
It would become, part of it would become grass
That's what, okay.
to make the balance work.
Yeah, all right. And the same thing would apply, you got two different shades of green here, that's
Yeah.
all gravel now, and the light part is where you're proposing to plant grass?
Well, no, not really. This isn't a real good portrayal. I just realized that as you're asking the question. This would remain gravel here.
Okay,
It would be paved over to the building face. But again, we would do whatever it takes to, cut out pavement, gravel where we need to make up.
so right now, from the pink down to the front of the proposed yellow building, that's all gravel?
This is gravel here.
Right,
The
so
green-
you're not gonna close that off, you're not gonna neck that down to,
he would like to agree to, throttle back the opening a little bit.
right, that's what,
He would be able, he would agree to remove part of this over here
okay,
Make that grass.
and make that grass,
Okay.
landscaping, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And then he also agreed to, put some paint on the opening that remains to kind of channelize traffic in and out a little bit better.
right,
He thinks it's put like a 30 or 40 foot wide paint striping on the opening. That will still give the trucks the ability to get in and out, but, the pedestrian traffic will be able to be a little more, channelized in and off.
right, it's some kind of hodgepodge right now.
Yes.
It's wide.
Right.
It is, yeah.
Yeah, and likewise, on this side of the road, we can do some measures there as well.
It'd be over here.
This would be actually that barn structure that's coming down.
Was there like a carport back in there, or was that part of that barn that's been?
Part of the barn.
That's
yes.
part of the barn, it's an extension of the barn, okay.
Over here, there's an overhang part of
Yeah,
that.
that's what I meant, yeah,
Yeah.
part of that barn.
driveway
They
going.
don't.
Right, see that picture there.
Yeah, but it doesn't show it as well. Yeah, it would be this portion, but it's actually walled off on the sides.
Yeah.
It looks solid too.
It's not solid, yeah.
This is going across that road.
So, so they want to leave the farm to this side gravel yet,
This is all we're gonna be grabbing back, truck maneuverability and everything.
Okay.
but they could make it over between that and Stevens Road, grass in there, and some
Not
landslide.
all in some of these.
Yeah.
Bill, did you say you could make this all?
Yeah.
Three quarters and then we're gonna make enough, put an island in the center so we have in and out traffic.
Yeah, so he could close about 3/4 of this gravel area.
Okay.
Yeah, make that grass.
So,
Put an island in the middle, talking about putting planters out there, flowers. So
We're trying to create 2 lanes of traffic, mid lane and out.
Yeah, you need the in and out.
You're very interested in having people that come to pick up, the little trucks and the cars that come in, to avoid the trucks over on this side. So if you can tell them to go to the left of the island and go that way to the storage building, that would alleviate a lot of congestion.
and that's gonna be simply storage or is it storage and office?
No, it's just storage.
Just storage, okay. One story.
One story is tall, yes.
Yeah, okay.
Because it's storage, yeah, warehouse.
Okay.
Yeah,
As I mentioned, it is a state road, so
right.
the past policy of the township, when we have situations like this, is make improvements to try to
Yeah.
improve access management with
Right.
specific interests of site distances. And there are some, while it may not seem it when you're sitting here, there are some locations where site distance is not as good as you would think it is, due to vegetation and other things. So I think there would be ways to work with them and improve that. The question becomes, at what point do you take the big step and deal with all the typical frontage improvements, and whether that's the master plan or some, in the future. The planning commission at this point did not place any conditions really on what they said, although there was a split road.
Yeah, we talked generally about access, we talked about a little bit of landscaping, things like that, but nothing very specific. Nothing conditions.
And just from my perspective, I don't drive past there daily, but I drive past enough. If that were to be neck down, as I would like, that's a step in the right direction. I mean, I know the trucks need room to maneuver, but
Right.
now they come in and out anywhere, you don't know where they're gonna run. So that would be a plus for me.
So the planning commission, what was their feeling in Lynn?
Yeah,
Well, they approved the motion, or recommended approval of the waiver of land development.
They did, okay.
It was a split vote, I think 4-2. I don't know if I can say exactly why, but I think in general it was maybe concerns relative to when is it appropriate to proceed with more elaborate land development, when is it not, and should this project be viewed different as a kind of a removal of one structure, reestablishment on the other side with some expanded opportunity versus somebody starting more or less from scratch. So I think the concern probably also with knowing that Wabash Phase 2 is coming in is the plan current under review and will have frontage improvements that they're currently working through PennDOT, which will bring curb, sidewalk, and other improvements directly abutting the property.
But that's warehousing, it's not manufacturing or anything else, it's just warehousing. Basically. Storage building, yeah, storage, so it's not, and you don't work after dark either usually, so shouldn't affect it.
Maybe before daylight, maybe.
Before daylight.
Except before or after daylight savings.
Daylight savings.
That's probably worth noting that no matter what you do relative to the land development issue, there's still zoning issues relative to buffers and certain landscaping. The subdivision land development ordinance would have a higher level of landscaping for certain aspects. For example, street trees are not required by zoning as a buffer. They're required as part of the frontage improvement. So they would be required to have screening based on the industrial land adjacent to residential uses or residential zone property. So I don't,
Looks like
we're not
he's
saying
planning on
that
that, he
plan,
hasn't
yeah.
thrown it in there.
Yeah, we have a few trees shown there, that would be this property line here would be, this is the residential zone land.
And, straight,
And, well,
Yeah,
this is the zoning plan.
yeah, so
Yeah.
this would be
Yes,
opposite.
correct.
right.
So,
Yeah.
so I don't think we're saying that everything depicted there landscaping wise is exactly what it is.
No.
He's got to show compliance with,
Right.
satisfy Tony relative to zoning. The real request was, before they proceed and get the timing of tearing something down and proceeding, are they into a more elaborate land development, or are they just dealing with satisfying certain zoning issues?
Sidewalks. Is that,
That
would
comes-
they have to do, would they have to do land planning, then they can do sidewalks if they want? or
That's part of the land development requirements, so a waiver would free them of those
not?
unless,
We could defer it.
unless you
Yeah,
link
okay.
those in as a condition, as a deferral, and say, that's an option. You could say, we grant a waiver of land development conditioned upon an understanding that it,
Sometime
a
that's
deferral of,
Yeah.
but once you defer sidewalk, you really are linking yourself to curb, likely to curb and other
Right.
frontage improvements. They would require a highway occupancy too, the fact you're dealing with adjacent to that.
But I personally like it simply because you're taking something that's old and worn out and you're replacing it, consolidating it on the same side of the street. From my standpoint, that's a win-win for everybody. That's just how I feel about it. You know, I mean, you're putting everything, all your eggs over on this side instead of having to run back and forth.
And just the safety improvements
Sure.
there,
Yeah,
not
absolutely.
having to go across it.
And the safety improvement, the building not falling on somebody.
Well, that's their
And that
liability.
building's beyond end of life.
Yeah.
So your final decision has to either be a motion to grant the approve a waiver of land development, or a motion to approve a waiver of land development, and then any conditions you may or may not instead.
We don't have to do that tonight, do we?
April, I will, time, if,
Yes.
Can we speak on that?
Yes, you speak.
As a resident in town, that's actually a good thing, because they're gonna remove a building that is dilapidated. They're gonna move all their things to one side of the street. They do a lot of work crossing the street there, and safety is a big concern. So I would assume everybody in that area would be 100% behind them. And they are good residents in town there,
Yeah,
for
they are.
everybody
Yes,
in
they
the
are.
fire department. They're very good
Take
business to
care of
keep
the
around.
property.
Yes,
It's a good business.
yes.
Would we want to defer sidewalk there or
No,
not?
not
that, I think that's,
I don't think we can answer that
really. No,
yet,
you can't.
depending on what happens.
So you just want the motion to be what,
well, I think it is now.
Yeah, our request before you is, whether to waive land development or not. We'd certainly be open to, conditionally doing that based on A, B, and C. If you, go à la carte, I'll say, and say, well, we're not really comfortable with just waiving the entire ordinance, but if you do thus and so, we'll abbreviate the process and abbreviate that, the process for us a little bit here.
An example would have been Sturdy Bill. Similar request, expand an industrial building, not a major, no new utility services. In that case, you defer, you defer frontage improvements and granted the waiver of land. So, you've probably done it both ways, so that's, But I think once you act on the waiver of land development, that is the moment you need to clarify
Yes.
your obligations relative to curb or sidewalk.
That's correct.
Otherwise, you sever
lost
that,
it. You
sever that link.
That's correct.
That's what I was asking.
Yes.
Could we,
And it, yeah, I don't know how the timing affects you. You know, if somebody says, let us have 2 weeks to contemplate conditions and see if we can work through them. Yeah,
Our concern would be the structure itself.
Tell me.
right.
you want an answer tonight?
Yes. That's Tony, he was out and looked at the barn, that's,
We've been out to evaluate the structure, and it doesn't have much time.
it does, yeah, I'm concerned about snow load for the winter, is
Correct.
what I'm concerned.
Absolutely.
Well, it's not gonna snow this winter.
Road supervisor and I agree on that.
There would be ways, I think, to authorize the demolition of the structure, but I think they also want some confidence that they don't tear down that structure, anticipating moving into the new structure and then being delayed.
The material needs place to be stored, we can't.
Yeah, this currently, just for the board's knowledge.
Later. Okay,
Yeah,
repeat that, please.
I think that's,
So you want a waiver of the land development, with exception to sidewalk and curbing, to be determined by the board at a later date.
Okay. Can you live with that?
that doesn't slow you down then.
Yeah.
I'll make that motion.
Essentially, it's, just to clarify that, essentially is a deferral of
Right,
sidewalk, road
Right.
frontage improvement
so, right,
to be determined.
right.
Later.
And defer just means it can be changed.
Right.
It is
So the
deferred.
waiving land development plan with exception to sidewalk and curbing
Which are
would be
deferred.
deferred.
Which would then be the obligation of the applicant to solely install it as required. by
Just
the-
as your other deferrals that
Right.
go on.
Yeah, just like any deferral, that's what it is, yeah.
Yeah, and appropriately noted on any plans, yep.
Okay.
Okay, so
Live with that?
Yeah, I believe so.
you make that
Where's the
motion?
boss? He's hiding there.
You may want to also tie things together too with your, indicate that part of your thought process in approving this is the improvement of access management and reduction of the driveway opening. So
Yes.
you could also have a condition saying, you know, improve existing driveway configurations to address access management concerns to the satisfaction.
One more time.
He's not even gonna remember what
On
it
the
said.
tape.
Improve access management along the frontage to the satisfaction. And I think we have a general understanding of that.
I'll add that to my motion.
So a second?
I'll go ahead and second that.
Any other comments or questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
So no motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Fred, you're gonna help me.
Yep. Yeah, and I think we all understand sometimes you come to this meeting, you have everything spot, other times you have to decide. And
Stuff
we
comes
can't,
up.
we can't work it different ways, and it's unfair for us to guide you in one direction without having them.
Yeah.
I only have one other minor thing would be, eventually, the culvert improvement project, now, well, depending, the full-time, will need to sign off on that application to DEP. So just be aware of that, I didn't want her to, North Ridgetown Road one.
Oh,
I think Alan was on a visit with us one time, we've had some discussions. And the goal there is to get the permit submission to DEP and
Okay.
see how they respond. We proposed it in a way, it's mimicking existing conditions in certain respects and then cleaning out other areas. We'll see how they respond, but bottom line is for them to respond to the request, the application will need to be signed, so.
Okay, thank you.
DEP application.
Yeah, it'll be, the DEP general permit application for the North Ridgetown Road culvert.
2019-18 Drug Task Force Support Request. Resolution 2019-18, resolution support the Lancaster County Drug Task Force and request the Lancaster County Board of Commissioners to continue this vital county initiative into 2020 and beyond by fully funding the program in a sustainable manner. Should I read the whole thing? Okay. I'll make that motion.
I will second that.
Any comments or questions?
You heard the chief earlier. I think we all, most of us in this room, if not all of us, feel this is very important. And unfortunately, the county commissioners don't see it that way. I had a long speech with the Republican chair in this area and asked him why he is backing one of those gentlemen. And the guy is clearly against DPA, and he couldn't give me a good answer. It's frustrating. That's just my personal perspective, but I'm not one to sit and talk behind people's backs. I'll go to your face and talk to you. And I'm very disappointed in the actions of the county commissioners. And I don't care if they come in here, I tell it to them. It's deplorable that they won't support the law as it's written. If you don't like the law, you got to get the law changed. The man is given a job to do as a DA, and that is to uphold the law as it is written. And if I don't like the law, what he's doing, then I've got to get the law changed. I can't come down on him. He's just doing what he was paid to do. It's just frustrating. Sorry, Chief.
And with the opioid crisis all over the country, to not fund this is stupid. That was my 2 cents.
So you need a motion. Do we have a motion?
We have a motion and a second. Will you vote?
Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carried. Thank you. That'll be sent to the county.
Yep.
Collective bargaining agreement.
Actually, it's not the bargaining agreement, gentlemen.
Well.
You're signing the joint request for certification, and this is just a document acknowledging that the Public Works Department is forming a union. Once this is signed, they must take this to the Labor Relations Board, where the Labor Relations Board has to vote on them and bless them as a union. And then, after all that paperwork is done, only then can you act on the collective bargaining agreement. So right now, it's for this joint request for certification that you're voting on.
Okay. So do we need to, we don't
Yes.
need,
We need a motion.
Yeah, just sign that.
I'll make a motion that we go ahead and execute the joint request for certification.
I'll second same.
any comments or
No
questions?
comments or questions.
No.
And was collective bargaining. Not
Yeah.
legal, but you
Yeah.
can.
That's right. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carried. Thank you. Permission to advertise the end of year advertisement for our CPA, which is Mayor Dussel. I'll make a motion to give permission to advertise for next year's CPA, Mayor Dussel.
So you're doing these individually?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, they're our present auditor, and they're doing a wonderful job, and I would second that motion.
Any comments or questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carried. Thank you. 1925. We have agreement of sale.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman, she was also asking that you authorize her to advertise the 2020 meeting dates
Oh, that's right.
and the 2020 draft budget when it is available. It is not yet available for public review, but she's just asking for permission.
Okay.
The draft meeting.
The meeting, we want to continue the quarterly morning meetings,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
So that has to be changed.
That has to be changed, it's not noted in this draft here.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. That's a good point.
We read over it tonight before it came in. So,
And
So we'll still have the one quarterly meeting in the morning.
9 o'clock.
Which is actually pretty well attended.
Yeah, that's why I say, well, there's people, not all of us work day work.
Yeah, the 9 o'clock meeting, yeah.
Okay,
So.
so that's corrected, and then you want to do them together, and then
Mm-hmm.
to advertise the draft budget when it's ready, it's not yet ready. Yeah.
Okay. I'll make that motion, we authorize her to do that,
With the noted correction.
with the
Yeah.
noted
Yeah,
corrections.
that's amended.
I'll second that.
Any comments or questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no, motion carried.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, thank you for correcting me. 1925 now?
Yep.
We have a formal sales agreement for 1925. And the sale will be consummated next year. What,
I think it's by January 31st, I think,
something like that, yeah.
if I remember right.
Mhm.
It is. Yes. Yes.
Yes. And each of the 4 municipalities will get an individual check, their percentage, the ownership of the property. So I need a motion to authorize the sale of the property.
I'll make the motion that we authorize the sale of the property located at 1925 North Reading Road in East Cocalico Township.
No
To-
questions?
Cross Town Realty. Yes.
Can't ask any questions?
Yep, after the second.
Second.
You made a motion for that?
Yes.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, any questions or comments? Yes.
Jim Kenback, Lane, can you say the amount?
Yeah.
And who's gonna buy it?
Crosstown Realty LLC.
The gross consideration is $350,000, but then there's a realtor fee, so the net amount paid would be $329,000.
And who's buying it?
Crosstown Realty LLC.
Do we know what their plans or
That's all
anything
we-
are?
That's all.
Yeah, that's all.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
Jerry Hartraff.
Yeah.
How much do we own it, or where, as the township's concerned? Are we losing money, or we breaking even?
No,
Losing.
I have that back on my desk, but it's,
It's less than 100,000.
oh, it's a lot less
I
than
think
that.
it's 30.
Yeah, it's
30,
only
I think
like
it's 30,000.
30,000.
something like that.
And we can't even at least break even?
We will get more than 30,000 from the sale of it. Well, the breakdown of this,
Yeah, you know.
you want me to?
Just on a percentage basis?
Well, yeah.
Yeah. West Cocalico gets 32%, we get 46% of the sale price. Denver gets 16%, and Adamstown gets 6%. So that's $329,000. So we're getting more than $30,000. Any other questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carried. Thank you. East Cocalico Lions Club. Where the heck did I lose that letter?
Here.
Every year, the East Cocalico Lions Club has a toll road at Church and Reamstown Road Black Friday. They have like the authorization to do it again this Black Friday fundraiser. And they give it to other, where they call this. Last year, they collected $3,000. What's the wish of the board?
Yeah, this is the one that is held in Reamstown, as Alan said, at the corner of Church and North Reamstown Road. Fire company does it, I think on Good Friday, if my memory serves me right, Reamstown Fire Company, and this group does the same thing on Black Friday. So they get the Green Dragon. And it's for a worthy cause, it really is. I've been doing it for years and years, and I would make a motion to allow them to continue.
I'll second that motion. Any comments or questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carried. Thank you. Old business, MS4. Any tidbits, Ken?
You want to say something about that proposal from
No, don't worry.
what?
No,
TMAG?
no, go ahead.
Okay, TMAG, which is an agricultural consultant in the area, contacted us about changes in sort of DEP's approach to the MS4 program. And one aspect of it is that there are credits in terms of pollution reduction the township can get for things that are done annually, like street sweeping and other things like that. You prevent a certain amount of pollution by doing that, and you get credit for it. There is the possibility that DEP will accept improvements that are done on farms in terms of preventing runoff, BMP measures. There's a whole long list of them I won't go into, but we are talking about doing kind of a test case, picking a particular farm. TMAG would do the calculations and submit the information to DEP and see if that gets accepted. And these are being done as test cases. If that happens, then in the future we'd be able to go through and do the same thing, claim credit for the things that the farmers in our township have already done. And it could potentially save a lot of money, like possibly hundreds of thousands of dollars. And so there's a proposal from TMAG to run a couple properties through a test case. And you have all seen that proposal. I forwarded it to
We have a list of the properties. Do we have a list?
Okay, today I've gone through in the last couple of days and updated our list of known farms in the township, looking at ones that are in excess of 20 acres and going through and figuring out which ones are in the urban area boundaries and which ones are not, because that has to be done on farms within the urban area. So I got that finished up, shipped the list over to John Williamson at TMAG and made a couple of recommendations, and it's still in the works. So it isn't finalized what properties we're going to work on, but I did send them some suggestions.
Good. Can you share those with, can you email them to us or something later
Yeah, I can
on?
email them. I don't remember
No,
exactly
I don't
offhand which
expect
ones
you
they
to.
were. There are a couple hundred farms on
Right.
the list.
What do you mean you can't remember?
Come on, you're younger than us.
Hey, speak for yourself.
No, Ken, I didn't expect you to
No,
remember.
that's good. But there's hope there.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
All right, good.
Thank you, Ken.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Actually, along those lines,
Yeah, so,
Darcy and I.
yeah, we attended LCATS on Monday. And the LCATS had basically it was an update from the legislative side of what was going on with MS4. Congressman Smucker was there, Representative Zimmerman was there, a number of representatives were, Representative Martin. And interestingly, when it came to a question period, there was extensive conversation about MS4. It was a hot topic among all the municipalities. And basically the conclusion was, from my perspective, was MS4 is on everybody's radar. It's presenting a lot of challenges to all the municipalities. And it's going to be a very challenging program moving forward, as we well know.
But Washington is hearing that, and they are pushing to allow us to now get credits possibly on the farm grounds and stuff like that, so things are looking hopeful. So
Great.
hopefully they're gonna pass some laws on that and make DEP adhere to it, so.
Yeah, actually, it's a good point. One of the complaints, even from our representatives, was the frustration level about DEP constantly changing its targets, the goal line, constantly moving it. So,
Thank you. Fire Department Working Group.
No updates, just to reiterate again, because I know there's a number of firefighters here tonight from various municipalities. Thank you for coming in. Where we are right now is, I think it was 2 weeks ago or so, we received all of the information that we requested from our own fire companies. That would be Denver, that would be Stevens, Smokestown, and Reamstown. So the board has all that information now. The next step, the action item is with the board itself, once we get past this budget, because that's been tying up so much time. Once we get past, once we review that document, see what we have, and if those are the questions we had asked, we're then going to sit down with our 3 departments in the working group and look at that data together and start to analyze that data and see what it shows.
So that it's gonna be a while now, we are in budget season, and I myself still have obligations.
Yeah.
I'll be starting full-time for a month.
New business? Manager's report.
Not full-time, they'll be there.
Public comment of non-agenda items, please state your name. Any public comment? Yes, June.
June Kenbeck Lane. Last Saturday, October 26th, I was on 272 North, near Wabash Road. And somebody was burning a large pile of wood. And could you tell me on a Saturday who I would contact to complain about that?
Ariaki.
Our fire official.
I've done that in the past.
Reamstown Fire Hall.
I've done that in the past.
Yeah.
I got a call 4 days later.
Okay. We don't issue burn permits per se, but certain farm and ag properties, we do allow them to burn their brush, their fence rows. And Mr. Rocky is usually called ahead of time. He goes out, inspects the site, makes sure that it's compliant, makes sure there's no trash involved, and asks these gentlemen or these property owners to use good common sense with the weather. And that's the only way the township issues or allows any burning to date. And that's been that way for the last 8 or 10 years. Now,
But you're not, nobody's here on a Saturday to call to contact.
the first thing you would do is call Harvey Hockey. Second thing is you call our police department.
I did, but the dispatchers that we get in Lancaster, or wherever they are, I don't think they even really know where East Cocalico Township is, to tell you the truth. I got nowhere. And that burnt to the ground because when I rode by it the next day, there was just a pile of ash there. So I don't think it was ever stopped.
Was it on a farm?
June, where exactly was
On
it?
the corner of Wabash.
That's Joe Weaver.
That's a different farm, yeah. We're talking, well.
But why do they burn on a Saturday, why are they given permission to burn on a day when no one is here?
Well, if they already met with Mr. Harvey Hockey and got permission to do that, and I can check with Harvey to find out, that's number one. Make sure, if they burn without permission, then there's a problem. But if they got permission, that he actually looked at the site, then basically they're okay.
He doesn't always communicate with us that, hey, June called, Alan called, Doug called. He doesn't do that on a regular basis. We certainly trust him and his ability to take those calls, but the person that's doing the burning has to make the call because there's no open burning in East Cocalico Township.
That's why I'm
None
concerned.
whatsoever, none.
And this is not the first time.
Except for farming.
Right.
Farms and.
They are allowed to.
Normally a farmer has some fence rows, a lot of brush and whatnot, and for them to put all of that material in trucks and haul it up here behind the waste, the township waste site, is cost prohibitive for them, so that's why the township affords them that luxury. They can burn, but it has to be done in a safe manner with good weather. I'll check with Mr. Rocky first thing tomorrow morning to find out, did they talk to him, did they contact him? And I'm sure I'll get an answer from him.
Thank you.
I appreciate that.
Well, we know how bad the air quality is in this area, and to burn is just, to me, totally unnecessary.
Let me ask you this, June, when you saw it burning, what did it look like? Was it woody waste?
It was
sticks,
like a
branches?
bonfire. It was shaped like a
Okay.
triangle. It was mostly wood.
Dimensional lumber, like 2x4s and plywood?
It was probably 8 feet tall,
Okay, but,
at least.
okay, so you really couldn't tell what was actually burning then? 'cause it was
No,
all
I didn't go over to them and say, put it out, that's for sure.
Yeah. Okay, I'll look into it with Harvey tomorrow, we'll find out.
Because I have called in the past, this
Yeah.
person you're suggesting, and I got a call back about 4 days later.
Okay,
So that doesn't do any good
no,
as far as a fire at that time.
I'll contact Mr. Rocky and find out his side of that story.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Any other comments or questions? Okay, we're gonna recess for executive session, and we'll come back and adjourn. There'll be no decisions made during the executive session for contract issues. Okay, thank you.
Do you want to just put them out back?
No.